Aerodrome Finance price update. Why this might be your last chance. My name is mikemadz. Let's start this video. Before we start the video, as always, make some noise. Every like matters, every comment matters, every single type of engagement matters, guys. The more people engage, the better for the video. The more people are going to hear and see about Aerodrome, the better it's going to be for us once we are back in the bullish trend. Let's start. All right, let's stop wasting time. Let's jump straight into it. Of course, main topic is going to be Aerodrome today, but I'm also going to cover one on-chain project here, a microcap at this time, which I'm very, very bullish on. Aerodrome, keep an eye on this. Very, very important. Our main thesis here. Does it still make sense to be bullish on this entire space? Base projects, especially here on-chain projects with the microcap, are bleeding heavily right now. Why are they bleeding? What is next? Should you be buying or not? Covering this today. Of course, today an Aerodrome price prediction, an in-depth price prediction with two scenarios, a bullish scenario and also a pessimistic scenario. You should be preparing right now. Super, super important. And also the truth is going to be revealed today. What I'm currently personally doing right now, which most probably is going to surprise most people. Okay, take a look at Aerodrome, our main thesis here. Let's zoom out. Okay, why are we so bullish on Aerodrome? Why are we bullish on Base? Because we are bullish on Coinbase here. Why are we bullish on Coinbase? Because Coinbase already brings a huge set of users here, 100 million users plus, and this is a great way here to funnel users and liquidity into Base, and of course the main beneficiary here is going to be Aerodrome. Quick, long story short here, why we are so bullish on Aerodrome, and this is why we have to take a look at where is Coinbase heading here in the future. And as you can see here with the meeting yesterday, the Crypto Summit, Brian Armstrong, long story short, is very, very well connected at this point, and the regulatory FUD is basically out of the window. So the future of Coinbase is looking brighter than ever before. And of course, our hope here, of course, is that this will benefit Base and the entire Base ecosystem. Now, let's take a look at narratives here that will drive massive, and with massive I really mean it, massive liquidity on chain. And this will be the main driver here for Aerodrome to reach new all-time highs and for the Base ecosystem to reach new liquidity all-time highs, okay? And those narratives, most people actually sleep on because they're not the most exciting here for the crypto space. Those narratives are stablecoin adoption and also tokenization here of assets, and also especially tokenization of stocks. And this is currently actually happening here in the background. This will drive massive liquidity into the Base ecosystem, and more importantly, into Aerodrome, as Aerodrome is going to be handling all this type of DEX volume here, in my personal opinion. So as you can see here, the coin stock is planned to be tokenized, and of course, this will drive huge, huge liquidity, just like I said. Okay, take a look at that. To back this up, how did Base perform here in the last months? And as you can see, Base is one of the top leaders, and Base is actually above those popular layer ones here, like Solana and like Sui. So the inflows are there. Base ecosystem health is still in check. The only thing that's currently not in check is, of course, the token price of Aerodrome. Why is that? Pretty simple answer, guys. Currently, the environment that we're in is just simply risk off here. People are selling high speculative altcoins and are bidding on safer bets. This is pretty much it. And as you can see here, this is also reflected here in the TVL. Unfortunately, not everything is bright and green for Aerodrome. The TVL with a substantial decrease here in TVL amount, of course, also because the token price is down. And also on the side note here, lending in DeFi is actually in contrary the green here in the last month here, especially also Seamless protocol, interestingly exploding in that. So it makes sense to use this time to earn yield on your assets, to make your assets work for you without adding additional funds, okay? And that being said, and one great example where Aerodrome is also excelling here, those newer narratives here, especially earning yield on Bitcoin. As you can see, also Aerodrome is catching the most liquidity out of that, leading the way here. So Aerodrome in a great spot. Of course, token price is correlated with current sentiment, and the current sentiment and market structure is simply risk off. So while yes, the AERO token price is down, yes, understandably, the AERO token is not performing too well. The protocol is doing what it's intended to do, and I highly advise you to make use of Aerodrome, guys, especially if you know what you're doing here, as you can make a substantial amount of passive income here, especially liquidity mining, if you know what you're doing, if you know the risks, if you know what impermanent loss is. This is a great way here to use this bearish time to make extra income. Okay, so long story short, the thesis of Aerodrome still intact. It's looking brighter than ever before here with regulatory clarity coming into play. the future is very, very bright. Of course, in the short term, the token price is in a very, very bad downtrend, and we'll cover that shortly. Okay. All right, zooming in into the base projects here, and especially on on-chain projects, now what? Some of those on-chain bags are down heavily here, 70, 80, 90%. And this is why you need to understand the differences here, guys. Very, very important. There's a huge difference between a major and an on-chain project here. What are those differences, and what are those even? Majors being big layer ones or well-established projects here with already big exchange listings here, where the liquidity and the density of the liquidity is just simply higher. On-chain being microcaps or projects you can only buy on dexes here, where the liquidity is not the highest, okay? And this is why it's super important to understand the risk curves here, guys. Very, very important. You need to understand, of course, with the big daddy here being Bitcoin. Bitcoin, most of the times here, is the asset that bleeds the least here. And of course, on the risk curve, Bitcoin is on the lowest point here in the crypto space. Long story short, after those, of course, we have your major layer ones, but already the jump from Bitcoin to those, the risk, of course, goes exponentially higher, and the price fluctuation, of course, reflects that. Okay, while Bitcoin might be down 5%, Solana or Ethereum or Sui can be down 15-20%. Okay, it's possible. Now, much along after that, this is where our on-chain base projects come into play. Our microcap tokens I like to cover on this channel here, just for a couple examples here, Alienbase, Pokpok, and Super Champs. And this is why it's super important to understand those projects are very, very volatile here. Okay, those projects can dump 90%, still be in the bull market, and have a 100x from here. This is possible, and the history shows that. Of course, not with those projects, but with other on-chain projects. So the volatility is the price you pay for those projects here. And the volatility is just simply part of the game, as the liquidity is not the highest. Okay, now, out of those projects here, I'm still very, very bullish on most of them, but this is where those questions come into play, and those questions need to be answered with a yes here in order for me to still be interested to DCA at those levels. Okay, the first question is the narrative still relevant here? Very, very important. And is there a chance of the narrative still coming back? Second question is the team still building, or is the team nowhere to be found here, already hopping from one project to another? And is the risk to reward still in the right place? Answering those questions here, in my personal opinion, the best bet you can make right now, not financial advice, or one of the best bets you can make right now, especially with the slow market cap, is still, in my personal view here, Pokpok protocol. Why is that? Because the narrative is still intact and still relevant. Guys, trading, on-chain trading, leverage trading, or trading in general in the options market is a huge market, guys. Just take a look at Hyperliquid, take a look at exchanges here. Most money in crypto is made via trading here. And of course, this is a huge market here with massive upside potential. The team is still building, as you can see here. And just a quick side note here, this is currently a community takeover with over 50% in the peg, basically in our hands, guys. So this is basically our project now. Very, very bullish on that. And also, as you can see, many things here on the horizon, improving the protocol and then being able to make use of the peg token here. Team is building, the narrative is very, very relevant here with a massive upside potential, and the risk to reward here for this token price below $1 million currently. This is a microcap token. It's just simply too attractive not to DCA into it. Now, again, you have to understand your risks. You have to understand position sizing here with this type of project. Super, super important. But once you understand all of that, if you are bullish on this narrative here, and if you can answer those questions for yourself here on those on-chain bags, then it makes sense to buy those, of course. Why were you bullish here at the top of Pokpok? Okay, what changed here? Nothing has changed. Actually, in contrary, more updates and more features actually since then have been launched. So why were you bullish up here and why are you bearish down here? Doesn't really make sense here. Of course, not financial advice, but this is simply my view on it. All right, coming back to Aerodrome, two in-depth price predictions here with two scenarios, one very optimistic scenario and one pessimistic scenario. Both scenarios you should be prepared for, guys. Nobody knows. You have to prepare for each outcome, and this is the only way to invest, guys. Other way, you're just simply gambling here. Now, the first thing is optimistic. Let's take a look at that. Optimistic case would be that we chop around for a couple of weeks here, maybe have one more week lower to the support area. But if we zoom out here, we can say this was a massive W pattern here on the daily, which can excel us to new all-time highs. Now, guys, these are just simply predictions. Forward looking is very, very hard here in the crypto space. But this would be the optimistic case. And if this is the case here, then this massive W pattern, a technical level here, would push us to a level of $4 here. So currently my price prediction here for Aerodrome is somewhere around $4. I know some people still have $15, $20, $30 price predictions. Guys, do me a favor, ignore those. Let's go back to the all-time high first. And if we get back to the all-time high, this pattern would make the most sense here. And this target actually would make the most sense, not financial advice here. Okay, now taking a look at the pessimistic outcome, which is also a possibility, guys, unfortunately. The pessimistic outcome, especially here, if we are in a bear market, nobody knows, is just simply a multi-month chop here with a final capitulation event pushing us lower to those levels here where basically Aerodrome started here. And a great example here of this is actually Aave. As you can see here, Aave, massive upside push, basically a double top here with a higher high, but then of course bleeding further down. Most people were expecting new highs here, but the reality was that Aave kept bleeding until it finally had this accumulation range here that basically lasted for a year plus, and then we had the next move higher. So those two scenarios are a possibility, guys, and you should be prepared for both scenarios. My base case is still, guys, I still expect one massive push here this year and that we break new all-time highs. But my base case does not mean that it's a guaranteed case, and this is why I'm prepared for both scenarios. And coming to that here, this is what I'm currently doing, and this is the absolute truth. Basically, there's currently two types of investors. One investor just simply deals with the volatility. He closed the topic. He says, it's fine. I'm down 80, 90%. I'm just going to simply write it out here. Eventually, we're going to have new all-time highs. And this is also a legible case here. If you don't have the nerves or time to manage those things, you just simply let it roll. You deal with your losses and just let your position roll here until you are in the green again. Versus the case here to be defensive right now. Defensive meaning being mostly in stables. Take a look at the charts here on a weekly level and to jump back in a bigger size fashion here if the markets are back into bullish territory. In my personal case right now, I'm currently leaning towards this here. I'm defensive, very, very defensive here. My biggest position is actually stables, but I'm ready to jump back in here if the market flips back bullish. Now the downside of this is I will miss the majority of this relief pump if it happens here, but I'm fine with that. I'd rather jump in higher, have bullish confirmation, two new all-time highs, than to get wrecked here if this pessimistic case comes into play. Okay, let me know your thoughts here. Let me know which camp you fall in. At the end of the day, guys, be bullish on yourself. That yields the most returns. Do your own research. Super, super important. And the most important thing is, as always, don't get wrecked.
This guy giving up from blue tops like Mars Simpson, just hard discipline, pot simmering, cooking up, no rocks in the pan, watching the